Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar calls for global stability at the first India-Myanmar format meeting in France, eyes to boost ties with Europe. US immigration officer fatally shoots woman in Minneapolis amid immigration crackdown. Protest erupts. Trump defends the act. In weeks-long chase across the Atlantic, US seizes 2 tankers as Trump lays out plan, says Venezuela will buy American goods under oil deal. Trump holds first call with Colombia President Petro amid military threats. Discussion on situation on drugs and disagreements held. Both agreed to hold a meet in the White House. Europe hit by cold wave and snow chaos. Flights cancelled, trains halted, millions affected in Amsterdam, Brussels and other cities. And in cricket, India's under-19 team completes 3-0 whitewash over South Africa with a 233 runs thrashing in the third Youth ODI. Beginning with updates on the economic front, India's GDP is expected to grow at a rate of 7.4% in the current financial year, up from 6.5% in 24-25. The numbers are especially significant because they reflect increased growth in a fiscal year. The estimates were released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which said the services sector played a big role in the increase this year. The data also reveals that real gross value added is expected to expand by 7.3% in 2026, up from 6.4% in 2025. The economy continued to expand at a faster than anticipated rate in July-September, with GDP growth rising to 6-quarter high of 8.2% on the back of near double-digit growth in the services sector. While manufacturing and construction are estimated to grow at 7%, the figures are expected to be moderate for agriculture and utility services like electricity and water supply. And Prime Minister Modi hailed the GDP estimates on social media X. He writes, and I quote, "India's reform express continues to gain momentum. This is powered by the NDA government's comprehensive investment push and demand-led policies. Be it infrastructure, manufacturing, incentives, digital public goods or ease of doing business, we are working to realize our dream of a prosperous India." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. He received a telephone call from his Israeli counterpart on Wednesday. They exchanged New Year greetings, wish people of both countries peace and prosperity. The leaders identified shared priorities to further strengthen India-Israel strategic partnership in the year ahead, guided by shared democratic values, deep mutual trust and a forward-looking vision. They reiterated a zero-tolerance approach towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations and reaffirmed their commitment to fight the menace. Prime Minister Netanyahu briefed PM Modi on the implementation of the Gaza peace plan. Prime Minister reaffirmed India's consistent support for efforts towards a just and durable peace in the region. They exchanged views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. The two leaders agreed to remain in touch. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met the Myanmar format, marking a significant moment in India-Europe relations. This is the first time in the 35-year history of the Myanmar format that a non-European country has been part of the discussions.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's Paris visit highlights India's growing diplomatic role. The Weimar format, which has been European only for 35 years, engaged with India in discussions for the first time. The meeting reflects India's growing strategic importance for Europe at a time of shifting global alignments and rising geopolitical challenges. Choosing Europe first to visit in this year, Dr. Jaishankar recalled France and Europe are the most important ties in global order.
Europe is such an important a player in global politics. It's also necessary that India strengthen its relationship. I think we can bring more stability both into the international economy and global politics.
In a meeting earlier with French Foreign Minister was also fruitful. French Foreign Minister Noël Barrot said India's inclusion signals a deepening partnership between India and Europe. He also pointed out that the talks come at a crucial moment as a major agreement between India and Europe is currently under negotiation and is expected to be finalized in coming weeks.
In India, but also between the EU and India a few days ahead of an important summit where significant agreements will be signed. I look forward to these discussions today that aim at strengthening and furthering our relationship this year, where India will be chairing the BRICS and France will be chairing the G7.
Dr. Jaishankar said the discussion with Weimar format focused on strengthening India-European Union relations and on key global issues. He said the leaders exchanged views on the Indo-Pacific region and the ongoing Ukraine conflict. He also mentioned that among India's major international partnerships, ties with the European Union offer greatest potential for expansion, with several new areas of cooperation opening up across political, strategic and economic domains.
We may be located in different parts of the world, but despite that, perhaps even because of that, it is extremely useful for us to exchange views regularly and to share assessments.
India's participation in Weimar format highlights its expanding role in European strategic discussions, with both sides signaling stronger cooperation and tangible outcome in the near future. This meeting was a part of ongoing diplomatic dialogue, but was seen as an early engagement of the Year of Innovation. Discussions held in positive and constructive manner. This is Rohini Goswami in Paris for DD India.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal visited the Hilti Group headquarters and met their CEO Jahangir Zangaji in Liechtenstein. They discussed technology collaboration for safer, smarter infrastructure supported by expanding investments, rapid innovation and strong domestic capacity building. With the group's presence in India's construction sector for over 25 years, discussions focused on advancing localization, increasing value addition and scaling global shipments from India, aligned with manufacturing and export growth objectives. The Commerce Minister also chaired a business roundtable with leaders from prominent Liechtenstein companies. Piyush Goyal highlighted that India-EFTA agreement is not just a trade tie, but a framework to promote investment, technology collaboration, skill development and resilient value chains. In a post on X, he said, from precision engineering and clean energy to smart infrastructure, advanced materials, digital manufacturing and financial services, opportunities for Liechtenstein to grow together are immense. The minister also invited the country's businesses to engage with India and explore opportunities offered by the $100 billion commitment to invest in India by EFTA nations and make it a long-term home for their ambitions, deepening partnership and working together to unlock the full potential of India-Liechtenstein economic cooperation. Ambassador of India to the United States Vinay Mohan Quatra met with US Speaker Mike Johnson at the Capitol Hill. Quatra expressed deep appreciation for his support for strengthening bilateral relationship and thanked him for his solidarity with India's counter-terror efforts following the terrorist attack in Pahalgam in April of 2025. Ambassador Quatra also briefed him on key areas of partnership, including defense and security, oil and gas, trade, technology, including AI, as also the efforts to work towards a fair, balanced and mutually beneficial trade deal. Moving on, Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi paid a courtesy call and held discussions with retired Major General Aruna Jayasekara and Deputy Minister of Defence for Sri Lanka in Colombo. The interaction focused on strengthening bilateral defense cooperation, enhancing military-to-military engagement, including cooperation for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. The focus was also on reinforcing collaboration in areas of mutual interest, reflecting the shared commitment of India and Sri Lanka towards regional security, stability and enduring defense partnership. A memorial lecture remembering Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha was held in New Delhi on Wednesday. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan paid rich tributes to the late Vice Chief of Army Staff. General Chauhan spoke on the nature of modern warfare, underlined the need for scholar officers in the armed forces.
Today, as warfare grows increasingly complex, spanning space, cyber, information, and the cognitive domain, the need for scholar soldiers and thinking generals is far more than before. Today, even the basic building blocks which I just spoke about, what constitutes a nation state, that are being challenged. The concept of sovereignty, the concept of nation state, that is being challenged. Even diplomacy is under strain. That brings forth the point there's more need for thinking generals to be there.
As the class 10th and 12th board exams approach, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will once again interact with students, parents and teachers in the much-awaited annual program Pariksha Pe Charcha. Prime Minister in a post on X said he was awaiting to hear questions and experiences from exam warriors that can motivate others. Around 45 lakh candidates are expected to appear in 204 subjects across the classes 10th and 12th from India and 26 countries abroad. The CBSE exams are likely to start from February 17th. More than 4 crore participants, including 3.75 crore students, have registered for the 9th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. The registration for Pariksha Pe Charcha will end on January 11th. The Census 2027 will kickstart on April 1st this year, with the house listing operation spread over 6 months. Ministry of Home Affairs published the notification, which also said there will be an option for self-enumeration to be conducted in 15 days' time period just before the start of the house listing operation of 30-day. The census is conducted in 2 phases, house listing and housing census from April to September 2026 and population enumeration in February of 2027. In the first phase of census operations, which is the house listing operation, details related to housing conditions, assets and amenities of each household will be collected, while in the second phase, when population is counted, demographic, socio-economic, cultural and other details of every person in each household will be collected. The 9th edition of Indus Food 2026, India's flagship global food and beverage sourcing exhibition, is beginning today. The exhibition is being organized by Trade Promotion Council of India and aims to further consolidate India's position as a trusted and competitive partner in global food supply chains. Branded as Asia's premier F&B trade show, Indus Food will bring together leading Indian food producers, international buyers, policymakers, industry leaders and global institutions on a single platform to facilitate trade collaborations, bilateral engagements, long-term partnerships. Highlight of the Indus Food this year will be launch of initiatives such as India-UAE Food Corridor by Abu Dhabi Food Hub, aimed at enhancing food security, streamlining supply chains, accelerating bilateral food trade flows. The exhibition will also host international tasting and innovation platforms, including special tasting sessions such as cheese and wine tasting by Cyprus and APEDA's Bharati initiative, which will showcase innovative Indian agri-food startups to global buyers through Shark Tank-style pitch sessions. Curated engagements with industry bodies such as FIFI, FHRAI and KSPA will promote knowledge exchange, networking and sectoral collaboration. Let's now turn to other stories making news today. Assam Rifles, in a joint operation with Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, seized approximately 14 kg of gold biscuits worth 19 crore rupees in Tripura. They also recovered Indian currency worth 2.87 crore rupees. The seized items were handed over to the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence for further investigation. A massive fire broke out at the Pacific Chemical Factory in Thane district, Maharashtra on Wednesday, causing 7 to 8 explosions. Fire brigade teams rushed to the site with multiple vehicles and operations to control the blaze. No casualties have been reported so far. The authorities continue rescue and safety measures due to hazardous chemicals stored at the facility. Director General of Directorate of Civil Aviation, Faiz Ahmed Kedwai, inaugurated a new drone battery manufacturing facility of Garuda Airspace at Chennai. The inauguration took place during Bharat Drone Udan, an industry event organized by Bharat Drone Association at Garuda Aerospace Operations Center. The company said the new battery unit will support end-to-end domestic production and reduce dependence on imports in critical drone components. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Donald Trump signs order withdrawing United States from 66 global bodies. German FM says Greenland's future is for its people and Denmark to decide.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. A US immigration agent shot and killed a 37-year-old woman in a car in Minneapolis on Wednesday amid an immigration enforcement surge. US authorities stated that woman allegedly sought to ram Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE officers, with the vehicle. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey dismissed the government's claim and urged ICE officers to leave the city during a second day of mass immigration raids.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said the Minneapolis shooting appeared to be an act of, he calls it, self-defense, claiming the woman aggressively resisted officers and deliberately ran over an ICE agent, prompting the officer to shoot her. US Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem defended the ICE officer, calling the woman's action an attempted attack on law enforcement and a domestic act of terrorism.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
And Democratic Governor Tim Walz placed the blame for the shooting on Trump administration and said National Guard has been placed on alert for possible deployment.
We've been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary.
The shooting drew hundreds of protesters onto streets near the scene, some of whom were met by heavily armed federal agents wearing gas masks who fired chemical irritants. A widely shared video of the incident shows an SUV apparently blocking unmarked law enforcement vehicles as they attempted to drive down a snow-covered street. The driver, named Rennie Nicole Good, attempted to drive off as officers approached and tried to open her door, with one agent firing 3 times with a handgun as the vehicle pulled away. And for more, DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre joins us live from Delhi. Akshay, another case of ICE operation turning deadly. In the context of what happened in Minneapolis, take us through how the agency is causing sharp divisions in the United States.
Well, that's one of the biggest question right now. That how the ICE agents that are the immigration agency that's trying to figure out who are the people that are living across the U.S. on a who are citizens, who are not citizens, who are staying in the U.S. Illegally, who are staying on an expired visa. It's an extensive process. Donald Trump, ever since he has come back to power for his second term, he has intensified the ICE operation. The immigration officials have been deployed in huge numbers across the country. They are carrying on with their raids. They are carrying on with checking, with inspections, and have been given immense powers across the country to ensure that the illegals are figured out and probably deported out of the country. And this is going to be a very, very long operation. Many a times people are resisting as well, and we have seen in the US especially the entire issue of immigration has been quite a dividing issue, where one side has called for deportation of all the immigrants, illegal immigrants especially, whereas there has been a side of the US where people have called the country a country of immigrants. So that's the entire divide about. And as far as this particular incident is concerned in Minneapolis and Minnesota, about a massive operation is already going on, an ICE operation, and over 2,000 ICE agents have been deployed to sort of raid, to sort of carry out with their operation and find out about the number of illegal immigrants that are living there. And it's the friction is majorly happening in Democrat-ruled states, because the people there mostly lean toward more pro-immigration policies, whereas the ICE agents are working on federal orders. So that's the tension about. And yes, you are right that once again an ICE operation has turned deadly, because Rennie Nicole Good, the 37-year-old lady who has been shot, she was protesting against the ICE operations, because many a times we have seen that the ICE operation have harassed people as well. They have gone inside house of people illegally many a times. That have been the allegations, and perhaps in that resistance, Rennie Nicole Good was shot when she tried to sort of resist away from being arrested. Is what is apparent from the video. But you're right. Another video, another operation has turned deadly, and it's just one of those, one of them, many that are to come if the raids continue at the same pace, because the divide is deepening, the ridge is deepening as far as this entire issue is concerned.
And Akshay, a little more in the larger context, what has been the outcome of the immigration crackdown by the Trump administration through this agency?
Well, it has certainly on political lines, it has divided the lines between the Democrat-ruled states and the Republicans, whereas the Republicans have aided the ICE agents in these raids with the local police enforcement as well. The Democrat-ruled states, especially their governors, have openly resisted. And as far as the operations are concerned, yes, many deaths have been reported, especially as the resistance continue. The ICE agents are authorized with using their firearms if threatened. And obviously US as a country, we have seen has a strong culture of agitation and protests against many of the government policies as well. But this time what different is that the president himself has been openly called for violence against any sort of resistance. So that's what we are seeing right now. And on the larger context of US, the society that has been given an example of, as far as multicultural, multi-ethnic society is concerned, there the ridge is deepening as far as these divides are concerned.
Akshay, thank you for joining us with those updates. Moving on, US President Donald Trump signed a presidential memorandum directing the withdrawal of the United States from 66 international organizations that no longer, according to them, serve American interest. The memorandum orders all executive departments and agencies to cease participation in and funding of 35 non-United Nations organizations and 31 UN entities. White House said this follows a review ordered earlier this year of all international intergovernmental organizations, conventions and treaties that the US is member of or party to, or that United States funds or supports. US President Trump on Wednesday said his administration is moving to ban large institutional investors from buying single-family homes in a bid to reduce home prices. In a post on Truth Social, Trump says he will be asking Congress to codify the measure, will be discussing additional housing and affordability proposals in a speech at Davos World Economic Forum. The White House framing of the proposal stresses that single-family housing should serve individuals and families, not corporations. Implementation of Trump's proposal is expected to face legal and legislative hurdles. It remains unclear whether it can proceed without congressional action. US President Trump has repeated in recent days that he wants to gain control of Greenland. He argued that Washington must control the world's largest island to safeguard American security amid growing Chinese and Russian activity in the Arctic, claims that Denmark has not done enough to protect it. And now US Secretary of State Marco Rubio would be meeting with Denmark leadership next week. The world's largest island, but with a population of just 57,000 people, Greenland is not an independent member of NATO, but is covered by Denmark's membership of the Western Alliance.
Denmark. Why has the administration not taken Denmark's offer to discuss the situation in Greenland? And
I'll be meeting with them next week.
But will you take military intervention off the table?
I'm not here to talk about Denmark or military intervention. I'll be meeting with them next week. We'll have those conversations with them then.
Tensions have intensified since the White House said that the use of the US military is always an option. It said potential American purchase of Greenland is being actively discussed by President Donald Trump and his national security team.
Well, that's something that's currently being actively discussed by the president and his national security team. And I would point out that the acquisition of Greenland by the United States is not a new idea. This is something that presidents dating back to the 1800s have said is advantageous for America's national security. The president has been very open and clear with all of you and with the world that he views it in the best interest of the United States to deter Russian and Chinese aggression in the Arctic region. And so that's why his team is currently talking about what a potential purchase would look like.
Meanwhile, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadefull said the future of Greenland was for its people and Denmark to decide, adding that he was sure NATO would remain united as he met his French, Indian and Polish counterparts in Paris. Wadefull said he was pleased, though, that Rubio and Denmark leadership would speak, saying it was sensible and worthy of support. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot echoed the comments by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen that Greenland was not for sale or for taking, adding that these intimidations must stop. Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski said that matters involving territory, war and peace were the preserve of the US Congress, whose view he said he wanted to know regarding Greenland. While EU Council President Antonio Costa said that European Union will support Greenland and Denmark when needed, will not accept violations of international law, no matter where they occur. Costa said Cyprus was taking the helm of the EU Council at a time when international rules-based order was under attack, urged EU member states to stand up against these developments.
On Greenland, allow me to be clear. Greenland belongs to its people. Nothing can be decided about Denmark and about Greenland without Denmark or without Greenland. They have the full support and solidarity of the European Union. Europe will remain a firm and unwavering champion of international law and multilateralism.
And President Trump doubts that allies would be there for United States if Washington really needed them. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said his country will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for the United States. In his post, Trump repeated his frequent assertion that many members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, had failed to meet military spending commitments until he intervened, but also emphasized that the NATO member countries are all his friends. Trump highlighted that Russia and China have zero fear of NATO without the United States as part of the alliance. And waiting for a short break. There's more coming up. You're watching DT India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories at this hour. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar calls for global stability at first India-Myanmar format meeting in France, eyes boosting ties with Europe. US immigration officer fatally shoots woman in Minneapolis amid immigration crackdown. Protest erupts. Trump defends the act. In weeks-long chase across the Atlantic, US seizes 2 tankers as Trump lays out plan, says Venezuela will buy American goods under oil deal. Trump holds first call with Colombia's President Petro amid military threats, discussion on situation on drugs and disagreements. Both agree to hold a meet in the White House. Europe hit by cold wave and snow chaos. Flights cancelled, trains halted, millions affected in Amsterdam, Brussels and other cities. In cricket, India's under-19 team completes 3-0 whitewash over South Africa with a 233 runs thrashing in third youth ODI. The United States on Wednesday laid out an energy deal with Venezuela, saying it will partially roll back sanctions to allow the sale of oil products from the country. The details shared in the Department of Energy fact sheet came days after Washington captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, leaving his deputy and other allies in charge. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that the energy deal will benefit both American people and the Venezuelan people. She also said that the United States is selectively rolling back sanctions on Venezuela.
This was a deal made by the president and his team with the Venezuelan interim authorities. This will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelan people. And Secretary Wright and the Department of Energy are working with the interim authorities and also with the private oil industry to execute on this historic energy deal. That's not only good for the United States, but it's also going to revive the prosperity, the safety, the security of both the United States and Venezuela as well. The U.S. is selectively rolling back sanctions to enable the transport and the sale of Venezuelan crude and oil products to the global market. I will reiterate what the president has said a few times now to all of you, which is that it's too premature and too early to dictate a timetable for elections in Venezuela right now.
U.S. President Donald Trump has since announced that the interim leaders have agreed to U.S.-managed marketing of 30 to 50 million barrels of crude, repeatedly adding that his country will run Venezuela despite having no forces on the ground. Trump also said on social media that Venezuela will be buying only US-made products with money they receive from our new oil deal, according to him, including potential purchases of agricultural goods, medicine and energy equipment. Meanwhile, Venezuela's state petroleum firm separately said that talks for the sale of crude oil to the United States had begun after Washington's demand for access to the country's reserves following Maduro's ouster. The United States seized 2 sanctioned tankers today, including a Russian-flagged oil tanker that was in the Atlantic. The second tanker was in international waters in the Caribbean. The Marinera, formerly known as the Bella 1, was empty of oil, but US says this tanker and M. Sofia belong to a shadow fleet of tankers used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote on X, the blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect anywhere in the world. The US is escalating its blockade of vessels that are under sanction and going to and from Venezuela. The White House also said it plans to roll back some of the sanctions Trump placed on Venezuelan oil in 2019 during his first term. Meanwhile, Moscow has denounced the seizure of the tanker sailing under its flag and demanded that US treat Russians aboard properly and permit them to return to Russia quickly. US President Trump and Colombian President Gustavo Petro held a phone call on Wednesday afternoon where they discussed relations between the two countries. Trump abruptly changed his tone on Wednesday about his Colombian counterpart, saying that they had exchanged a friendly phone call, and he even invited the leader of the South American country to the White House. Trump said arrangements are being made for a meeting in Washington between himself and Petro, though he did not indicate that the meeting may take place. This is the first phone call between the two presidents since Trump said on Sunday that a US military operation focused on Colombia's government sounds good to him. Brazil's former President Jair Bolsonaro arrived at a hospital in Brasilia after hitting his head in a fall in prison, where he's serving 27 years for leading a failed coup and now transferred from federal police detention facility to a DF Star private hospital for a CT scan, MRI and other procedures. On to West Asia now. A large crowd gathered in Iran's Elam province on Wednesday as nationwide protests continued over worsening economic conditions and political restrictions. Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's former Shah, called for more demonstrations and urged the country's armed and security forces to side with the protesters and protect civilians rather than confront them.
I'm sharing my first call with you today and invite you all to begin chanting at 8 p.m. Tehran time this Friday, January 8 and Thursday, January 9, whether in the streets or even from your homes. This is a direct message addressed to Iran's armed and security forces. You who wear a military uniform to defend the Iranian nation and who are now facing a historic choice. At a time when the brave and united people of Iran are building and writing history, my question to you is this: on which side of history will you stand? Alongside the criminals or alongside the people? In these decisive moments, I expect you to return to the embrace of the nation and to use your weapons not to fire at people, but to protect them.
These protests, the largest in 3 years in Iran, began on December 28 at Tehran's Grand Bazaar, following sharp fall of the national currency, and have since spread across the country. Rights group report between 27 and 36 deaths and more than 1,500 arrests, with deadliest unrest occurring in western provinces. Iranian authorities deny responsibility for civilian deaths, stating that members of the security forces have also been injured amid ongoing clashes and heavy policing. Hundreds of tourists struck Yemen's remote Socotra island are finally preparing to leave after days of uncertainty. Flights had been halted due to clashes on the mainland. 416 tourists are scheduled to depart from Yemenia Airways flights to Aden before continuing onward to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. The departure marked a relief for visitors who had been waiting for safe passage of the island. On to weather updates from around the world. Snow, ice and fierce winds have battered Europe, disrupting daily life, grounding flights, stranding passengers and closing schools, cutting power as the continent struggles through its harshest and deadliest cold snap this winter. For a third day, severe white weather caused major transport disruptions. Hundreds of flights were cancelled, with Paris and Amsterdam worst hit. At Schiphol, more than 1,000 travellers spent the night after 800 flights were grounded. Paris Charles de Gaulle lost over 100 flights and 7 people have died in weather-related accidents. The freeze has hit vulnerable groups hard. Homeless people in Paris struggle against the cold. Schools in Scotland stayed shut, and authorities warn rural areas could be cut off. Hungary saw its heaviest snow in 15 years, with temperatures at minus 20 degrees Celsius, with Austria plunged to minus 24 degrees Celsius. Eurostar services were again disrupted. In the Balkans, floods and snow damaged homes in Kosovo and Montenegro. Thousands of Serbia lost power, while Albania's port city of Durrës saw 200 residents flee torrential rain. Nordic countries also faced chaos, with trams halted in Gothenburg and warnings of power cuts. At Orly Airport, the de-icing and runway clearing continued as snowstorms battered northern and western France. Around 40 flights were cancelled on Wednesday morning, while crew worked to clear ice from roads. On the other hand, Australia's south sweltered through a brutal heat wave on Wednesday that delivered temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, triggering health warnings, straining power grids and causing bushfires to flare. The Met officers said the conditions were at their worst in 6 years. The nation's Weather Bureau issued severe extreme heat warnings for the states of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania. It also warned of extreme fire danger across Victoria and South Australia. In Victoria, where temperatures reached up to 44 degrees Celsius and 41 degrees Celsius in the state capital, Melbourne, authorities advised residents to stay indoors and keep hydrated. Sri Lanka's Department of Met has warned of worsening weather as depression over Bay of Bengal moves closer to the island, raising concerns over heavy rain, strong winds and possible disruptions. Forecasters say the system is likely to intensify into deep depression and is expected to move west-northwest towards Sri Lanka's eastern coast within 24 hours. Cloudy conditions with showers or thundershowers are forecast across most parts of the country. Heavy rain exceeding 100 mm is expected in the eastern and the Uva provinces, while winds of 50 to 60 km per hour may affect several areas, including Central Hills and Western districts. Some weather updates from India now. Entire North India is in the group of bone-chilling cold wave. Indian Met departments have issued orange alert for 5 states, including capital Delhi. Almost the entire North Indian plains are under alert for cold and fog conditions. Cold day alert has been issued for multiple states, with a severe cold day warning issued for East Rajasthan. Ground frost warning has been flagged for Assam, Meghalaya and Uttarakhand. Kashmir is experiencing severe cold, with weather forecast of light rain or snowfall in higher reaches and near zero visibility caused by dense fog over the next few days. In the Kashmir Valley, 40 days harshest winter known as Chillai Kalam are living up to their expectations. Meanwhile, southern states such as Tamil Nadu and Kerala may witness spells of rain accompanied by thunderstorm, with isolated heavy rains possible in some areas. A unique artwork from Andhra Pradesh is drawing attention for its scale and storytelling. Artist C.H. Sri Lakshmi from Ongole has created a single canvas featuring 72 miniature paintings that together depict the entire life of Lord Krishna. Here's more.
A single canvas, 72 stories of Lord Krishna's life as miniature paintings, all merging seamlessly. The credit goes to artist C.H. Sri Lakshmi from Ongole town in Andhra Pradesh. Titled Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum, the remarkable miniature paintings begin from Lord Krishna's playful childhood till the end of his time on earth.
If you observe closely, you can see scenes such as the birth of Lord Krishna. Everything is depicted in detail. The paintings capture facial expressions vividly. The main intention behind this work is that when anyone views it, they should be able to recall the entire life of Lord Krishna, just like reading the Bharatam or the Bhagavad Gita.
Sri Lakshmi says her artwork aims to vividly depict scenes through expressive images of the Lord akin to reading stories. Sri Lakshmi has come a long way since her childhood when she aspired to become an artist and was inspired by her father. Now she is hoping for greater recognition from around the world.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. Oil slips on Trump's Venezuela crude deal as global stocks mostly edge lower. HIL Governing Council beats Shachi Bengal Tigers 6-3 in high-scoring Men's Hockey India League clash in Chennai. Khelo India Beach Games continue in Diu as participants hunt for medals in beach volleyball, beach soccer and pencak silat.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and heirs tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In some business news, oil prices fell on Wednesday following US President Donald Trump's deal to import up to $2 billion worth of Venezuelan crude, while major stock indices ended mostly lower, with US financial and defense shares declining. On Wall Street, the Dow eased along with the S&P 500, but the Nasdaq finished higher. Stock indices around the world had hit record highs this week, even after US intervention in Venezuela. European stocks snapped a run of record closes as investors paused to digest the latest US-Venezuela developments and addressed economic data. US bank profits are reported to surge in the fourth quarter, driven by a sharp rebound in investment banking activity as global deal-making gains momentum. Analysts say healthy US consumer finances, steady loan growth and higher net interest margins are likely to further lift results, though inflation and potential tariff risks remain key concerns. The largest US lender, JP Morgan Chase, will kick off earnings season for banks on January 13th. Citigroup opens new tab, Bank of America and Wells Fargo will report on January 14th. The Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley on January 15th. The results are likely to be bolstered by a revival in mergers and acquisitions. Germany recorded its highest number of unemployed people in 12 years in 2025, and the outlook for Europe's largest economy remains challenging. The country's Labour Office said on Wednesday the average number of jobless last year rose to about 2.9 million, the highest annual figure since 2013, reflecting prolonged economic weakness. Labour Office Chief Andrea Nahles said the worst may have passed, but warned that any easing in unemployment is unlikely before mid-year. She added that 2026 will remain difficult, noting that a moderate recovery supported by government fiscal measures and a rebound in construction would still be insufficient to drive in significant drop in unemployment. Bangladesh's ready-made garment exports have slowed across major markets in the first half of the financial year 25-26. Export Promotion Bureau data shows shipments fell 2.63% year-on-year to $19.37 billion, down from $19.88 billion a year earlier. Political instability, law and order challenges and weak global demand weighed on the performance. Exports to European Union dropped 4.41% to $9.46 billion, with sharp declines in Germany, France and Italy. By contrast, exports to the UK and Canada saw modest growth. Industry insiders said buyers shifted orders to rival countries, while stronger support for exporters in India and China eroded Bangladesh's competitiveness. You're watching TT India News Hour. Time now for all the action from sports. Indian under-19 team thrashed South Africa by 233 runs in the third youth ODI to sweep the three-match series on Wednesday. Put into bat, stand-in skipper Suryavanshi once again went on a six-hitting spree to hammer his 100 in just 63 balls. He finished with 10 maximums and 9 boundaries in a fluent 74-ball 127. The 14-year-old from Bihar was ably supported by Aaron George, who compiled 118 runs off 106 balls as the duo laid the platform for a massive total of 227 runs. Opening stand, India piled up a mammoth 393 for 7, a target that proved well beyond South Africa, which was bowled out for 160 in 35 overs. Both teams now head into the Under-19 World Cup, which starts 15th of January in Zimbabwe and in Namibia. Indian cricketers Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, coach Gautam Gambhir arrived in Vadodara for ODI series against New Zealand. The host team is set to play three-match series against the Black Caps in the format. First match will be played on January 11th at the BCA Stadium, Vadodara. Kohli arrived in the city of Gujarat on Wednesday. Shubman Gill returns to the Indian ODI setup as the captain, while Shreyas Iyer, who was injured, has also made his return to the squad. The wicket-keeper batter Rishabh Pant also made his comeback in the white ball format. Second edition of Khelo India Beach Games in Diu continues on Thursday. On day 4, the athletes will be in action in beach volleyball, beach football and beach sepak takraw. Over 2,100 athletes from diverse backgrounds have come in Diu to participate in the games, spreading the message of unity through sports, fostering cultural harmony and discipline. The event features a range of sports like beach soccer, beach volleyball and others. The games are considered a significant platform for young athletes, helping to elevate beach sports and foster a strong sporting culture in the country. In hockey, Kane Russell struck a hat-trick as HIL Governing Council defeated Strachi Bengal Tigers 6-3 in a high-scoring Hockey India League clash in Chennai on Wednesday. Strachi Bengal Tigers took the lead after captain Jugraj Singh converted a penalty stroke, but Governing Council turned the game on its head with 2 quick goals. In the 38th minute, Governing Council secured a 3-goal advantage. However, Bengal Tigers refused to back down, scoring 2 quick goals in the 40th minute to reduce the deficit. But James Albury showcased brilliant skill to get past Tigers' backline and tap the ball into the empty net as Governing Council won the encounter 6-3. In badminton, top-ranked Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen will be in action in the second round of the season-opening Malaysia Open in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. Lakshya, currently ranked world number 13, will face challenge from Hong Kong's Lee, a 2021 World Championship bronze medalist. Sen defeated Singapore's Chia Hung Jason Thae in the first round encounter in 3 sets on Tuesday. The 24-year-old from Almora, who won the Australian Open and also registered a final finish at Hong Kong last season, will look to start season with another emphatic performance. The first giant panda cub born in Indonesia has completed 40 days in good health, marking a key milestone in China-Indonesia panda conservation cooperation. That's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screens and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.